Then we will be reconstructing 2 diamond interchanges with roundabouts, one at County U and one at County S. And then we're also constructing a brand new diamond interchange with roundabouts up at the Southbridge connector, Southbridge corridor that Brown County is also developing that new corridor through there. Along with all our interchanges, we have 11 different overpasses or underpasses that are being reconstructed along the corridor. So lots of bridge work. And then we do have some other unique improvements. We'll be resurfacing 3 park and ride lots, building a new salt shed facility on the Outagamie County campus, more lane miles. We need more salt. And then we'll also be constructing a combined safety weight enforcement facility and new Northeast Region State Patrol headquarters building up near the County U interchange. Be a 2-story facility, vertical building industry, something a little bit different for WisDOT, or at least Northeast Region. So a unique structure there. Just to hit on some of our 2024 project lets, and I have another slide with 2025. In 2024, the 3 in the top here have already been let. That's the Capitol overpass with the 15 interchange, Rose Hill Road overpass, and then the county interchange was just let this week. Some other ones coming up here, we have the Southbridge interchange early fill project. We have some bad soils up in that area, so we got to put the fills in early, let some settlement before we actually build the roadway on top. We have the safety and weight enforcement facility, the SWEF building. That new building and site and all that has been broken out into 2 different lets. The first let here in August is going to be more of the building and some of the site work. There'll be a second let in 25, in May of 25, that it'll be more of like the roadway features and the ramp coming in and things like that to the SWEF facility. So this first one is more of the building, the vertical industry side of things. November, we'll be letting the County J interchange. Also in November, we'll be letting a couple of the overpasses, the Holland Road and Vandenbroek Road. And then in December, we have our first mainline letting, and that will be the southmost section from Highway 96 to Lindale. Then as we move into 25, we have 2 lettings in February. One is a Ballard Road interchange or the County E interchange. The second is going to be a corridor-wide queue warning system, so more of a traffic control device, message boards and sensors to warn traffic throughout the corridor of speed reductions and things like that. Kind of a unique project itself. Then in May, we have the SWEF roadway that I mentioned earlier. In June, we will be letting the second portion of the Southbridge interchange. So that's more of the roadway features, the roundabout, the structure, the bridge construction. Then in July, we have that new salt shed is proposed to be let in July, as well as our second mainline segment. The second mainline segment that we'll be letting is the County JJ to Miners Way portion, and that includes the County U interchange. So rather large project there. And then in November of 25, we'll be letting the French Road overpass. So, here's just kind of a graphical or a map layout of some of these projects with the 15 interchange, Capitol and Rose Hill and Southbridge, as long as the SWEF for 24. And then in 25, as I just mentioned, we have the mainline section on the south end. We have the Ballard interchange. We have those 2 overpasses of Vandenbroek and Holland. We have the County J interchange, the SWEF roadway let, County U interchange, and then the northernmost mainline segment. Now, just to note, a lot of these mainline segments are multi-year. And just to give a brief overview of the mainline segments and how they're going to progress throughout the sequencing of the corridor. As I mentioned, 2025, we have these 2, the 2 shown here in purple. 26, we have 2 segments, Lindale to Mead, Mead to Holland. And then 27, we have the Holland to JJ. And then in 28 let, we'll have the Miners Way to County F. Now, again, as I mentioned, a lot of these are all 2 to 3 year projects. So if you put the pieces together, 2026, 2027, we're going to have a majority of this corridor will be of the main line will be under construction in those years. So there'll be a lot going on out here throughout those years. I do want to highlight, if anybody has questions, we have opened our project field office. I'm hoping our next stakeholder meeting, we'll be able to hold it at this facility. Still trying to work through some IT issues and getting the right equipment there so we can host hybrid meetings like this. So we should be all set by our next one of these stakeholder meetings. But if anybody does have questions, we have people at this facility every day. We do have it open to the public right now on just Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But there are people there. If you have questions, call. We can meet anybody there and talk to folks as well. And just a couple of those projects that had started already, the Capitol Drive overpass. You can see here the existing roadway is removed, the new piling there in place, getting started. And then this is the Rose Hill Road overpass. Just got started here 2 weeks ago, so they got about half the bridge down. The other half will come down this weekend when we can have some overnight closures. And they're getting ready to put the newer, wider, taller, better structure here as well. So I know that was rather quick going through things. We do have a great website for the entire project that has all of these interchanges and our schedule and our public information presentations. All of that is out on our 41 website. So if you have questions or you're curious what something's going to look like, please go there and take a look. So yes, I don't know if there's any general questions about the project at this time. Like I said, I know I went through that kind of quick, but.
No questions? Right, thank you.
Yes.
And I just want to say, I know we discussed this last time. Each month we put out the DBE bid letting bulletin. And for the projects, all the projects are listed. So anything that would be with I-41 would be there. And it's going to more list out exactly what is included in the project in terms of work types. So if you are not on our bid letting newsletter list and you don't receive it, please let me know and we can make sure you get added. So that would give kind of a little more clarity, because I know there's some DBEs here who may be interested in being on projects. So thank you. So with that, we're going to move ahead and we will have Benji, if she could give us our DBE utilization report.
Good morning, everybody. This one is going to be a little bit, I'm going to do this. As we've been talking about,
There we go.
so as we've been talking about, there have been a couple of projects that have been let already. Right now, the project that was let in February was the Capitol Drive overpass and bridge 440317. And the other part of that was the Northland Avenue, or it was 15 interchange. That project came in at $27.7 million. We had an 8% goal that was set on that. The prime, who is Michaels, did achieve that goal, coming in just slightly over 8%. So we have commitment dollars right now for our DBE firms of over $2 million. We have $2.2 million plus in DBE committed dollars. We have 17 DBEs working on this project alone. The other project that was already let was let in March. That was Rose Hill overpass. I don't know if you guys saw it. Half the bridge is gone. And I'm just like, oh, that's Rose Hill. Yay. So we had a 6% DBE goal set on that. The winning successful low bidder was Minton. They came in at just under $3.5 million for that project. Currently, we are achieving a 6.36% DBE goal and committed dollars at just under 222,000. The next project that's going to come up for let is in June, and that is the early fill and southbound frontage roads, connector and frontage roads. So that letting is on June 11th. We have set a 7% goal on it. And I left everything else blank, but I want to see 7+ and lots of participation dollars and lots of participation on that one. The one on Rose Hill right now has 4 DBE companies working on that project. The next one that's on the list is the SWEP, and that will be led on August 13th. We are looking at what the DBE goal assignment is going to be based on the opportunities for both horizontal and vertical construction. So that will be published sometime in July. So keep an eye out on the HCCI site for that. So on the 2 projects, what we've done here, and this will continuously change every time we have these updates as more participation, more different types of firms that are working. But on both projects, right now, as I said before, we have an 8.01% on the one set of projects and 6.36% on the other. And the breakdown by ethnic group is we have Black American companies working out there, Hispanic American, Native American, subcontinent, Asian American, and our non-minority. It does show that the non-minority contractor has the largest portion of this. However, the reason for that is the type of work that she's doing. She's supplying and installing rebar, and that's a very large dollar amount on this project. But we also have a lot of ethnic variety and gender variety on this project. We've got trucking, we have sawing, electrical supplies, more trucking. We have suppliers, we have touch-up painting and skating, I think Wisconsin, bridge deck grooving and grinding, longitudinal bridge deck grooving, saw cutting, suppliers, trucking, and then you can see here we have 21 total and 21 total on here. The biggest again is the rebar install and supply, but there's a lot of opportunities for other companies, especially our non-minority companies, to come up and work in these areas because there's a lot of work going on. The SWEP building. This building is, we talked about it earlier, it's going to be August for this let, offering opportunities for both horizontal and vertical. It's going to be the new state Northeast District headquarters for the State Patrol. It's a 2-story building. The other plus on this one is that there's a huge communication tower that's going up. There are DBEs that are in the Wisconsin area and just across the border who do have the certification and the qualifications to do this type of work. So if you guys are looking at bidding this type of work, make sure you're reaching out to all of our DBEs that are on the list that have the knowledge, experience, and the proper NAICS codes. So DBE opportunities, again, we just want to reiterate what is on these projects. And as Tandra said, every month there is a DBE opportunity list, line by line, item by item, that can be fulfilled by DBE participation. And I do want to stress that if it's not on the list that we send out to you and you know a DBE that can perform some of the work that you might be doing, hire them, put them on your bid. DBE participation is DBE participation, whether I check the box as it being an opportunity or not. So we'd like, be creative. If you have DBE companies out there, make sure that you're having those conversations. But the opportunities that we have here are the contractor staking, material testing, landscaping, erosion control, clearing and grubbing, There's some drainage ponds coming up. There's a lot of opportunity in those drainage ponds and they're fun as heck to build. Trust me, I love building ponds. Concrete barriers, so there's a lot of concrete work on here that's not necessarily associated with the bridges. Traffic control, we got a lot of good traffic control companies that are coming up the pike. Plus, we also have some that are coming over state line that are big and they are willing to travel. Pavement marking, bridge painting, staining. We already have one of our DBEs. One of the projects, so that's great. Again, the communication towers, beam guard, trucking, signage, ancillary concrete, saw cutting, culverts, rebar and steel reinforcement, storm sewer, materials, suppliers, manufacturers, electrical signals, and retaining walls. So there is a wide variety of opportunity and a lot of really good DBE firms that, you should be reaching out to as part of the DBE participation. For the SWAP, we have electrical and communications, roofing, drywall and interiors, poured foundations and floors, trucking, painting, plumbing, sewer, HVAC, landscaping, material suppliers, and manufacturers. On our UCP directory, you can sort by building, construction building, and we have probably at least 100 plus DBE certified building contractors. So make sure you guys are looking at that when you're putting your bids together, because I will be putting the poll on this. So you've been warned. That's it for me.
All right, any questions for Benji? I'd like to thank Michaels and Benton for getting the goal and for the, you can see the diversity of the DBEs that were chosen, although the majority are non-minority. But if you look across all the different between Black women, white women, Black, for Hispanic, across all the different ethnics and gender, oh gosh, I'm fumbling the words, ethnicities and genders, you can see that there's representation. And so we're looking for that to get even better. And I think having this type of meeting, looking at the data will help us and guide us as we move forward. So thank you. All right, with that, the agenda that I don't have. And at this time, we will go ahead and have Maggie give us labor utilization. Okay,
Teresa's going to share the screen for me.
thank you.
Okay, so hold that down.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'll report out on the labor data utilization for the two projects we have in operation. I'll begin with Northland Interchange, then the Capitol Drive overpass. So the prime on that company is Michael's Roadstone. And there is a total of 74 employees on that project thus far. There's a total employee work hours, 2,995. For the women on the project, there's a total head count of 3 women, making that a 4% of the workforce for that project. A total of 119.8 hours thus far. And for the minorities, there is a total head count of 3 individuals on this project. We're leaving that at a percentage of 4% of the workforce, and a total hours of 51.50 hours. That's what we have as far as the labor data for this project. And then I'll move into the Rose Hill and Appleton Overpass project. The prime on that company, as stated, is Vinton Construction Company. And they have a total of 50 employees on that project, with a total of 471.10 working hours thus far. There are 2 women on that project, leaving it at 4% of the workforce, and they've earned or totaled 16.5 hours thus far. And there are 4 minority individuals on this project with a total of 7 work hours. And that's 8% of the workforce minorities for the project. And that's the labor data utilization thus far.
So Maggie, I'm not sure, my question is,
Mhm.
do we know for the minorities how those are broken out?
So we weren't sure if we want to do a breakout or a demographic breakdown, but we like a demographic.
Yes.
Demographic breakdown. Yep, no problem.
Because I know there's a lot of tribal representation here. See
Okay.
where that is. So should we hit it now? Are there other questions? Any comments? You guys are quiet. Right, okay then. So, we will go ahead and move on. And this is kind of good, I guess, that we have extra time today because we're gonna break out in our subcommittees for the first time today. And I guess I'm gonna turn it over to David to kind of
Yeah,
guide
so,
us through that.
so we're gonna be breaking out into our subgroups. One of the groups is the labor group that will be moving to another room.
Correct.
And somebody will be directing us to that room, I believe. And the business committee group will stay in this room. And once we get going, we'll meet for 30 or 60 minutes and then report back out after that.
Right. And I know each of the, and I guess one thing we should also say, I believe we sent out an email, we just want to thank Dan Webster for stepping up and volunteering to be the labor of subcommittee chairperson. So we appreciate that. Thank you. That will go. And then we have Tim McMurtry, which I was seeing him before, but
He's on.
he is online. Tim, he will be the business subcommittee leader. And David Hubbard will assist him in that role. So thank you, Tim, as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm wondering who online needs to go into the labor group.
Right,
I have Noel and Renard.
the labor.
Is there anyone else that's online that should be going into the labor group? Yeah, I could.
Is everyone else business then, if you're online? Okay, we'll assume so.
Yeah, Barry would go to labor.
Barry Schultz.
Thank you.
Under Brian Lipke's got a comment.
Yes, Brian. There you are.
Sorry.
Just give a quick summary of what we define as business committee. And
Absolutely.
labor makes sense to us.
Right, business, okay, absolutely. So in our meeting invite, we had our committee charge and descriptions, right? And so we'll kind of, let's just go over that. I think it'll help guide us, even if you're making a decision on which one should I be in. So overall, our committee, our mission is to improve coordination, communication, and planning of WisDOT programs in the I-41 project within the communities affected and contribute to the overall strategy for a sustainable and successful future of the DBE program in the Northeast, right? So, so that's what as a group, we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we're meeting the goals of DBE. And if you look at the overarching group that I lead, OBOC, we also have labor. You know, we're very interested in making sure that representation is there from tribal as well. So, you know, all these things need to come together for us to have a successful project. So that's why we invited, you know, all of them to ask broad group of people to be present. And so what we will do, just skipping to our task, we will exchange and share information, right? So you seeing where we are in the data and bringing your perspective and, you know, where you work and what you do and the people you're associated with, you can see like what improvements we might need to make. You can see, you may have, you know, ideas on how we can do things and, you know, you can help us move on and make progress. And we want to make sure that we're educating, we're providing just, real time, reality checks of where it is, right? How successful we are. I think we're off to a pretty good start, but of course, right away, we can see that, some improvements, do need to be made, and we will be mindful of that. But early on in the project, you kind of, you're stuck at wherever you started, right? You don't have anything contributing to try to, put around. So hopefully as time goes on, this next lettings, we'll see some different and better results. Okay, so that is the overarching group. That's what we all are here together to do. Then we have two subcommittees. One is the business development. So Brian, I know that's what you asked about. So the charge for that one, or actually the mission first, it consists of stakeholders representing contractor organizations, elected officials, federal government, and WisDOT. So we have, they may not all be here today, but we certainly, like our secretary, we flew him in and we update him on what's going on. And in the future, I'm sure we will have FHWA representation at this meeting. And we have certainly invited like mayors and others to be a part of the group. So, they are on the list. So don't be surprised if one day they actually show up, right? And so the charge is for us in the business group is we want to maximize the DBE participation, right? We have that goal. And, I would say that's the, floor. Michael did a very, great job. He met the goal, exceeded it a bit. But we want to make sure we meet that goal, right? We want to do whatever we can. Not only those projects are already let and awarded, for the future projects. That's why we're making you aware of what is out there and how they access the information. We will advise the Secretary's office on any policies and processes that we come up within this group, so that, we can have backing if things need to change or if we need to, get some support in any way. Actually, David, he's a part, a little bit, I may be saying about the executive staff, a bit of the
Secretary's office.
the Secretary's office, very, very close relationship. So we'll make sure we're doing that. Now, they have on here the technical subcommittee. Right now, we're not necessarily pursuing that right now, but certainly as we move on further, Northeast region, any of the project managers and people of that nature, you may see them in these meetings or whatever, providing more specific updates for us. All right. So that is our business committee. Find that explained enough for you, right?
Yes, thank you, Tom.
So labor, I'll just, for the fun of it, I'll go through that one as well. Why not? So we have the charge for that group is review issues or information on the issues affecting equitable workforce participation of women and minorities on the project, right? So it's good to have that data. We see where we are and we can see what we're working with and we can try to figure out how we can move things forward and get them, increase the efforts there. Evaluate the construction site and subsequent institutions for workforce barriers and inequities. You all are in the communities, you all are, and so like what the barriers are, and if there's anything we at WisDOT can do to try to help overcome those barriers or, work with you to do that, that's what we want to do. And if you have suggested resources that could lead to resolution of these identified inequities, we want to hear about that as well. So the labor working group, and we'll move to that. I guess these are kind of like committees that could happen within the subcommittee, right? But right now, we just want the subcommittee to be set up, and then we can delve into those as you all figure out what your priorities are and what your plan of attack is. So I don't know, David, Chad, do you all have anything else to offer around any of that? I did not. Yeah,
Yeah, no, nothing to add.
yeah. So well, that's good. So how we're going to do this is the business committee will stay in this room, right? You online, we're going to do, you'll be put into a room. And so you'll be in the room that you need to be in. And we said Barry, Bernard, and Noel will all go to the labor. The others who are online will be in the business group. And so there's another room. Teresa, what is that room?
It sounds like poignant, and it's behind the security door, so I'll walk everybody back.
So you'll follow, Teresa when I say go, no?
We're just gonna let you loose back there, you gotta try to find the room.
We'll get you to that room and it'll be set up, for you all to have the discussion. Dan will be the facilitator of the meeting. And so I guess we can, have you all go now.
Bathrooms are right out the door here to the left if you need
Sure.
to take a potty break.
Thanks.
So those remain.
Right here. I'll do later. Are you good?
Probably, I think we should.
Okay.
And so we'll take an hour.
Online, can you guys hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys
Yes.
pretty good.
Bernard, you're blurry. For the people that are here, so when I do sign no. What's in hand and then. I can subtract from the other and then know who's in the other one. All right.
Sign it sheet.
Yep.
Want to kick this thing up maybe or?
Sure. So I've never done so before, but if with review of what Tandra had said, our goals or our tasks are to review information on issues affecting the equitable workforce participation of women and minorities on the project, evaluate the construction site and subsequent institutions for workforce barriers and inequities, and suggest resources that could lead to resolution of identified inequities. Is there anybody who has any sort of resources or information that they would like to lend in regard to the labor data that was reported out? Maybe ideas for ways that we can strengthen that or increase?
Yeah, I think for us as an organization, Wallback Group, one of the things that we've done consistently for years now is really firm up our relationship with certified apprenticeship programs throughout the state, not just here in Green Bay, but beyond as well. But we have a really strong relationship with Bernard and Noah, who runs the tribal program that moves. They kind of toggle it from reservation to reservation to capture that demographic specifically. But there is also a lot of tribal representation that comes through HCST Highway Construction Skills Training Program. It's been super successful for Northeast Asphalt, the business unit that does work here. I know a lot of people in this group, and I know some people for being on the road. I used to work for Mega Rentals, but I came out of the Highway Construction Skills Training Program back in 2014 as a graduate, flag for a season, and then I worked for Mega Rentals for about 5 seasons before I joined the Walnut Group. About 50% of our diversity or our diverse hires have came from HCST, the HCST program. So right now, about 5% of our workforce at Northeast Asphalt comprise of tribal members from across the state. So I think that the program has worked well. And again, our relationships with Bernard and Noel have really been valuable to our organization. I think the communication is the biggest thing, right? When I'm doing outreach, I always tell people that we don't want everybody. We want people that are of high character, that are reliable, and that that have a good attitude as well. Because we can't teach anybody how to pave in the classroom. We can do that all on the road, but they have to first get there, and then they have to be teachable as well. we can get the on-the-job training part of things, but I think one of the big focuses is making sure that these folks as coordinators of the program understand what the contractors are looking for too. And if that communication isn't existing, then it's hard for them to implement that into their curriculum. So that's part of kind of the reciprocal relationship that exists between us and these coordinators is, hey, this is what work looks like at North Asphalt. And really painting a realistic picture of how things look too, because it's not easy. We hired 9 HCST graduates just this spring. And for the first couple of weeks now, I've been, building in touch points to talk to these folks because it's hard, working 13, 14 hours a day when they've never done that before. It's difficult. And then, one of the main things that I oftentimes hear is the misdirection, right? With on-the-job training, because Maggie's going to do it differently than Mike does things, right? Learn from everybody around you. And so being able to coach those folks throughout their first, couple of weeks, I think is pretty critical in retaining them as well. But those are just a couple of things that we've done as an organization. I think over the next couple of weeks here, we'll schedule a meeting with all of our new HCST hires just to try to understand some of what they're struggling with as well, so that we can try to get that stuff from our operation and do it again so that we're able to retain these folks and they become long-term core employees of our workforce.
So Renard, I do attend majority of the HCST training graduations. And I do know that Renard works with Forward Service in this Northeast region and holds his trainings in Green Bay. And he does, for one, a wonderful graduation ceremony where he invites family, friends, contractors, union members, individuals that would like to come in if they have the time to speak to the graduates. But I've been talking with Chief, with Mike, in regards to trying to set something up within WisDOT to also bring contractors in during the actual trainings. So I do know, Renard can add in more as far as what he may do with contractors during the trainings, but we are thinking if there's something that we can set up tying WisDOT to the effort, just to pretty much show, the need for the communication with the individuals while they're going through the training. So they kind of know what to look forward to. All of our providers can give as much information as they have, but none of them have actually ever been in that workforce or on the actual field to know specific things to tell them, as Dan said. So if we can, to strengthen the participation during the trainings. We're working in a lot of those areas, getting more videos up and running and out to showcase the program, trying to get the schedules of different activities the providers are hosting out to everyone, just to get the word out on the participation and the involvement.
Also, just to piggyback on that, and I want to thank Renard for collaborating with the United Nations. I'm new to my position as the United Nations Indian Preference Coordinator, so I've been in that learning curve, but I've worked with Renard as a collaboration because of having a skilled trade workers bank with the United Nations. I'm actively doing recruitment. I had 8 candidates, 5 of which, thanks to Renard's program, have been placed. And the training that is offered, I say, is A1. They offered an OSHA 30. I don't know if you are all aware of all the trainings, the flagger certifications, the workplace safety, and he did invite me to the recruitment event that they hold. He holds a recruitment event. I'd say he's probably, from our conversations in the years he's been in the program, he's had a 90+ average of placement. And I did attend that recruitment event this past class in last month. And I don't know how many of the contractors that do the letting or bid for the lettings are part of Renard's recruitment event. Because that would be one thing that I would promote, is if you are looking for labor as a contractor or a subcontractor throughout this project, because it's multi-year. He holds 3 classes. one in the fall, one like midwinter, and then one in the spring. And then he does recruitment events at all of those events. It was similar to the DBE conference that I attended in Wisconsin Dells, where the skilled trade workers, the contractors were on the outside, the skilled trade workers were on the inside. They had their resumes and they just did a quick round robin of, I think Bernard said it at 5 or 7 minutes. It was very collaborative event, I think. Most of them, as far as I know, Bernard, maybe you can correct me. I believe almost all of them got placement with contractors. But I highly would promote that if you are doing prime or subcontracting throughout this project, that to work with the different HSCT programs for their recruitment events. So that if you do have that labor, that you are meeting those DBE goals through this program, because it all is minority and woman-based, right? That's the goal through this program, and it's very successful. I've seen the professionalism that's come out of the class. I've known the community members prior to going to the class, and even me being in the community, I was like, I don't know, I know that, from the community, but the before and after is totally different. It's a totally different person. He feels those soft skills. He really works on that professionalism, what it is to be in the workplace. He sets it as a workplace. It's 7:30 to 3:30. If you're not there a minute before, you're considered late, I think Bernard's motto is, but and he's a very stickler on attendance and treating it as a workplace in that respect. So I highly recommend, if you are a contractor for a labor standpoint and meeting these DBE goals, that to reach out to Renard and maybe in their recruitment events. I don't know what Renault's training schedule is, how many times he offers training, but I know Renard's is the fall, the midwinter, and the spring. If you are looking for labor and to try to meet those DBE goals, so, network with Renard is an excellent program. And then also being from the Oneida Nation, I am doing recruitment, but like I said, I only got like 3 now that they've all been placed through this program. But I'm trying to do active recruitment. I did one where I invited Dan to and Renard to try to get and build a skilled trade workers bank. But what I would like to know from this group is, because I'm new to my position, is what are you as contractors looking for as entry-level skills? Because if I can build their toolbox, I will say it's my metaphor. If you're looking for, they do have the OSHA 10 or 30, you need them to have forklift training, or even if you just need them to have like an acuplacer test. Because I know a lot of the unions require an acuplacer test. And I don't know which one, but I know it varies upon the unions, I think. But what that looks like, so that as I'm doing recruitment, I can possibly start gearing them toward those, or finding them resources. Because I am collaborating with our internal Oneida Nation WIOA program, and they will pay for trainings if they need training, they get TC. Give them whatever entry-level training so that they can get their foot in the door with contractors on this project per se, or other projects with the DOT. So that's what I'm looking for. And as far as doing recruitment, what are the contractors looking for? What are these subcontractors looking for? We do have travel coordination meetings where, and we're having one for the 172 project. I think it's Wellback is the prime Northeast, is it? The 172, but we are having a travel coordination meeting that we have before any project or the DOT that comes on or within the reservation, where it's a mini recruitment event, and the contractors and subcontractors are invited, And again, I bring my skilled trade workers. Sometimes my vendors, depending on what the project is, I've invited my vendors that 2 of them are here. And they can meet with the primes and the subcontractors and show them what they have to offer. So any future letting or bidding, they're aware that I am a resource. If you are looking to meet a DBE goal, I do have DBE certified contractors. These 2 are on my list that you can contact me. I do have a traffic control vendor, Anassa. I believe he was at the last meeting. I just emailed him and I was like, do you need information? Because I didn't see him here today. So that I do have a DBE traffic control vendor also. He's out of Milwaukee. He is Native American, but he is DBE certified. So that's just where I'm at and why I wanted to attend these meetings and be, and my supervisor isn't the other one because he's more of the strategic one, Troy Parr. You probably all met him before, but he's in the other meeting getting that component of it too.
I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do here is just compile that list, get it all pulled together for everybody in this room. We all look for different people, right? Different types of people, and we know what the trainings are, but we can pull that together as a list. She can use it as her skills bank. I mean, all of us can use that as far as recruitment is concerned, so go a long ways. I think we can focus on that. That's a great focus for this group.
And should it be a bank list of individuals who are trained and pre-apprenticeship certified and looking for work?
I would say so.
Yeah, all of those, yeah.
Available for them.
So,
I'm looking at the website just for that. Yeah, CST just for WisDOT, and I mean, you can, there's not really suspended training in your area. But I mean, that might be something we can look at and make it more user friendly and easier to get to and.
And there should be an area for, if you're a contractor
Yeah,
and you're looking for.
Yeah, I just went into job seekers right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
what website is that?
That's the HCST website.
Oh, HCST.
Yeah.
There's a lot of experience in this room. I mean, Mike, there's some guys been around for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's what it's.
And there has to be some value in this for contractors. And I'm glad that you're where you are, because things haven't always been great from the contractor side of things. And, you know, even it's even through these travel coordination meetings, sometimes travel stakeholders also have to take this thing seriously so that they understand what's going on, right? From that side of things, and being a travel member, being on the contractor side, I'm able to understand both sides of that. And so the training, I don't think there's anything else that needs to be done because the training already exists. It's being able to source the people to get them to the certified pre-apprenticeship program, because that's there. We don't have to recreate that wheel. But when we do have hires, it's finding, making sure that people are positioned well to come into the industry, because being honest, not everybody's gonna make it, right? And sometimes we have to be able to understand who's coachable, who's trainable, who's high potential, and those types of things. I'm curious too to understand, you know, from some of the more experienced people in this space, what can we do to enhance participation, utilizing some of these programs on our end of things.
But from Stephanie's standpoint, with her list, when people come onto her list, they don't know what they want to do yet. So if we've got some of these trainings available for them, if you do this, you can do this, or vice versa, all the way down the line. That's kind of how it starts for you. I know what you guys are looking for. Somebody else is looking for something specific for their company, right? The training is there. But for the random people that come in that have those wherewithal to want to work in a certain industry, let's give them that.
Yeah, I think that occurs through the HCST program, right? Sure. It ends over 6 weeks.
Right.
And what Renard does is he's engaged contractors. And so us as Wallback Group, we come in and we present to those students, right? Linda comes in and talks to those students, and then they're exposed to what exists throughout the industry as far as what do I want to do?
Right.
Right. And then it's up to them to figure out how to create a career path. We can help. Right.
Is that something that we have to start utilizing in high school? I know you took some of the tribal kids down to
diploma, so operators, engineers.
It is more that can be done on the tribal end of things too, right? Running that through the right stakeholders and making sure that we're getting them exposure through things like 139's externship or understanding of the laborers apprenticeship program. But you were gonna say something?
I was just gonna add the one thing, like what you talked about, I think Bernard's program prepares them perfectly. If you come through his program and Bernard calls me up and says, hey, this kid's ready, that kid's ready, and you're confident with that. I can also tell you that there's a lot of people that come into my office, and I'm with the Carpenters, for those who don't know me, I'm new here. But there's a lot of people who come into my office and they're like, hey, I want to be a carpenter, what do I need to do? And when we have a conversation with them, they will ask questions like, well, how am I going to get back and forth to work? And these are things that when I know if they came through Bernard's class, they're not going to ask how they get to work. Like one kid asked me one time if somebody was going to get reimbursed his mom's gas money because she was taking him back and forth to work. These are scenarios that when they come through these other classes that don't happen. So when we talk about getting them fit, I'm less concerned. I think you had mentioned it. You can teach them how to pave. We can teach them carpentry. That part doesn't scare me. It's, are they prepared for the heat, the cold, the long days, the hard work, the mental, look, our job is to work ourselves out of a job. We have to work really fast. When the building's done, job's over, we're moving on. This isn't manufacturing where you just show up every day and that machine's there and you run it. So it's a different mindset. And I think just, I can't speak highly enough of Bernard's program to just say that if it's a matter of getting somebody through there and getting them the expectation and the mental toughness to be ready for this career, that's what I would suggest.
How do you prepare them for the possibility of traveling for work? That seems to be, for us, the trucking company, that seems to be the biggest thing. They're like, you want us to do what?
Right.
Well, road work moves, like, you gotta go, you might not be in Green Bay the whole time, so you have to prepare them to get out of mom's basement, I think.
Do you have something to add, Bernard? I'm sorry.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Were you
Okay.
finished, Amy? Okay.
I'm sorry. Bernard, of course, thanks for all the shout outs and things like that. It's in the training. I listened to some of the questions that were asked, and they predominantly get answered, as Dan said, as Matt said, doing that training, that the coaching and training people up. I said on the Southeast Labor Advisory Committee, for this last past project. And, it's the one thing that it's not emphasized enough. The coaching and training people up to get them ready for the real expectations of this work. As Dan, as Matt were saying, the realistic expectations. A lot of people just don't know, and that's what we do in the training. I don't think it can be done unless, you're talking about men and women who have relationships, family relationships, or friendship relationships with industry people where they can get that type of knowledge. When you don't have that, the only way that knowledge is going to come is doing these trainings. I'm sitting here, and I was just sitting here thinking, I was here in 2012 when they did the first 41 project. We started our program in 2010 with the advent of the very first 41 project. It was a great time to kick off then the trans program, but I'll be honest with you, some of the people that are sitting in this room, I heard Mike Hahn, folks that were there, Dan Ekstrom, I know he's not here, but he was here with me when we started this deal, and we weren't positioned. Dan talked about positioning. Webster talked about, we weren't positioned to be answers to some of these employers' needs at that time. The one thing that I did do early on, back in early 2013, I traveled around the state in a company car, going to prime contractors, subcontractors, getting their intel. They gave me the most valuable intel, just finding out, Stephanie had mentioned it. What are you looking for? What characteristics are you looking for? That was one of the questions I had in the entry level employee. you know, and I started seeing some consistencies, you know, with contractors. Hey, I need people that can pass drug tests. I need people with valid driver's license. I need folks who can keep the pace in the industry. It's a different pace. I need people who are teachable, like Dan said. That's when I began to develop the curriculum for our program, you know, and our professional development plan and our pre-employment package, I think is second to none, you know, because I listen to what these contractors are saying. You know, we're on the ground level now. You know, I'm very, very excited because we have a chance to do it the right way the very first time instead of us getting on board later on in the game. You know, but I know right now, the one thing that we need is contractors. You know, we need prime subcontractors on board in this labor advisory committee. You know, we can sit here all day, you know, with HCST providers and workforce development people. The thing that's going to drive this thing is the commitment for some win-win communication with us and our contractors. I'm glad to hear some of your voices. I'm done.
Thanks, Renard. I wanted to ask quickly, do all of the contractors that are in the room know about the ASP1 reimbursement for HCST? Okay, yep, that's, you know, we're also in the works of attempting to have some updates made to that, maybe some growth in the reimbursement, which would be really nice if possible, but it's still in the works, so.
We could maybe do a presentation next time on just the highlights of the revision, but that's the other connection, right? We have the people trained, then we got to get the word to the contractors that there's this reimbursement. So I know, like, as far as labor compliance, we try to talk about it at the pre-con and have a list of the providers so that if a contractor wants to use them at any level, that they have that option.
Nice. Oh, Noel has a hand up.
Oh, you go, Noel, I'll go next.
Okay, Noel, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a little bit of what Renard was talking about and the question the lady asked about the candidates being prepared to travel. Part of what we do in the North Central region for the HCST program is our very first day of class after our orientation is have Kelly, I forget how to say her last name, from Walbeck. She's a HR representative. She comes in and provides a work ethics presentation right away that very first day of class and goes very deep into, you know, how much travel is involved in this industry, you know, and how to be prepared for that travel in this industry. And I just had a candidate that graduated from the Kashina, from Menominee tribe, that he went through the program and he didn't have his own reliable transportation. And so once he graduated the program, he's like, I'm not going to start applying for jobs yet because I know I can't get to the job site. He was in the process of saving up money and he was really excited. Last week, he gave me a call. He's like, man, I just purchased my car. He goes, I got my own transportation. He goes, I'm ready to get out there and start applying for jobs. And I was like, that's great. You know, you had a good plan in place. You know, he was working for, I believe, North Star Casino over in Boulder, and just saving money up until he could, you know, reach that goal and be able to provide his own transportation and have that reliability to get back and forth to the work sites. And another part of it with the training, I mean, these guys are coming out of here prepared. This is what we're providing, is that entry level training to get these candidates out there to these construction companies and, you know, let these construction companies provide this other on the job training that they're going to get that we can't provide. And myself, you know, going through this program myself back in 2005, I went into the road construction industry for a little while. You know, I know some of the ins and outs of what these candidates are going to struggle with that first few weeks on the job. At my first job, I worked with integrity grading and excavating, didn't have very much money in my pocket to pay for fuel to get back and forth to work, didn't have no money to pay for a hotel room to, you know, sleep close to the job site. I just found a safe place, you know, close to the job site to park my vehicle and slept in my car for the first 2 weeks until I got my first paycheck. That's, you know, what it took to really get by in that first 2 weeks of the industry until I actually started having an income to be able to, you know, keep paying for fuel, to pay for a hotel room, and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Noel.
I just wanted to back up to somebody mentioned the ASP one. I was not familiar with that. I'm not a contractor, but if somebody could give me an overview of that, or maybe we do it at another time, but just so I can share it with the other contractors. So when I do place people that everybody's fully aware of it.
I can give you a quick overview. So ASP one is a special provision that basically reimburses contractors when they hire HCST graduates to work on their projects. So a regular or HCST graduate or an HCST graduate who has advanced into the apprenticeship position. So it would be $5 for HCST grads per hour, 4 years or 2,000 hours cap, correct, Teresa? Per project.
No, each project changes, right?
Yes.
Well, the numbers do, yeah.
Yes, yes.
I'm so thinking about the new version of it, so, yeah, I'd have to like look at what I thought
it was 2 years
2,000.
and 2,000 hours. 4 years is for the update, my apologies.
And then 4 years then that's another 2,000 for an apprentice. And then,
And then doesn't that
Reimbursement.
ASP one, they'll also have reimbursement for people that are in the program as well?
So,
Training, yeah, there's training.
while they're in training, yep, and then once they're in actual graduates of the program.
And
it's
what I kind of wanted to bring up from the conversation in the, for the Southeast region where we started doing the stakeholders meetings, a lot of it, we were identifying barriers for getting people into the workforce and trying to come up with ways to help them and to like reduce those barriers, like, gas money, childcare, travel, and things like that.
We did try to implement a little bit of resourceful help from the workforce development boards and helping through our HCSC trainings. So we implemented the highway construction workforce partnership pilot. And in that pilot, the workforce boards were able to pull their resources and enroll through WIA, which is the workforce WAI, WIA, Workforce Advancement Initiative. So in the current pilot trainings that are happening for HCST, the graduates are all receiving a stipend based off of big point attendance as well as completion of specific certifications. So that in part was to try to get the graduates on the board of you can't miss days, because the same way as you can't miss days in the training, you won't be able to just miss days on the work site. You have to have certain criteria met in order to receive this payment. Just trying to also strengthen some of those soft skills and actual professional skills that help them once they are into the workforce, as well as being a resource. So, there are different entities and programs that we can work with to try to draw in more resources when it comes down to making sure that these individuals are able to get to work. They have the supplies that are needed that aren't provided, and that they just know some of those things in general. You can miss days if there's an emergency, if you're in the hospital, something of that nature, but you can't just miss a day because you didn't wake up on time or you missed the bus or whatever. They're trying to strengthen some of those just ethics when it comes down to the workforce.
For the resources, do we ever utilize any of the community action? Like in town here? That's what I was gonna say with New Cap. They have tons of programs for different resources, rental assistance there's tons of stuff. So there's a lot of resources out there that we can tap into for the local community action.
And that's what we've tried to do in the Southeast region is kind of connect that with our CST program and our providers like Renard or Null here. We try to do that down there and say, okay, you can kind of connect with this resource and let your students know that they can go here for help, or they could, to give them not only the job training, but a list of resources. So they don't have to wait to, or they might get a little boost and not have to wait so long till they find transportation to a job or.
Like we talked about, there's a lot of resources that are out there. Just compile those resources.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to find it, because I thought, I do attend graduations as well as Dan in Racine, because we have an HCST provider in that area. And I know Racine has a scholarship grant that the HCST, it has to do with trainings in general through Racine. But the individuals who apply, as long as they are residents at Racine, they receive, I believe, a $1,500 grant for while they're taking the training. And, I was just thinking, like, I need to look into the city of Milwaukee, see if there's any grants that help with educational trainings, workforce trainings, things of that nature. Those are things that we can do in our Northeast region as well.
Find those resources, because
getting those, one of the goals that we might think about having is attracting those very entities into this advisory committee to help us prepare, to launch out, make sure our grads are not in that position. I was listening to Noel, that back in when we started, we didn't have those resources either, talk about sleeping in your car. But to be able to, if we know of some of those entities right now, we might want to think Dan and Maggie about attracting them to this very group so we can be positioned as we begin this process.
Right. Agreed. Thanks, Bernard. And while, we can't really, you can't really teach people the wherewithal to know that you can sleep in your car and survive to make it to get this paycheck, but you can provide the examples. You can have the people come in and speak to them about what they went through and what they did. And like sometimes if you just drop that bird in someone's ear, they might not have been thinking about it. They might have thought, I don't know how I'm going to get there. And then you say something like that to them and they may be thinking like, well, I could do that. I could, you know what I mean? I could make it. I could, some things they may not have even thought of or tried before.
And at the DBE conference, when you sat on that panel and it was you and Adam and for the HSCT graduate panel, and I told them that they had huge testimonials that need to be told, him and Adam, because they were both HSCT graduates, and those testimonials would motivate somebody else to say, hey, if they can do it and where they're at. Anassa owns his own business. I think he said he started out at $60,000 a year, and now he's almost to $1 million plus. Because his clients, he said he works for WPS and We Energies are his major clients. Now he's getting into the DOT, so he's building his footprint. So not only that, but with the list of resources, that would be a good to help break down those barriers, and that's the same thing as Renard did, is when I came into my position, I looked at going into project meetings, because I'm just gonna kind of be alluding to what I can do for Indian preference trade skill workers is per our Indian preference law, it's project specific. So like the ones that don't know what they want to do, don't know what, if they want to go into trucking or they want to go into welding or they want to go into engineer, hey, I can give you the opportunity to get your foot in the door with these contractors on this project and get you into carpentry, get you into the welding, get you into maybe siding and see where what they're liking. That's one of the benefits of this program is those ones that don't know where they want to go, I have the opportunity per project that comes through to get a placement with different contractors. And then collaborating with the DOT, now getting them into road construction also and working with Renard's program. But I just wanted to kind of go back to the barriers and having those resources. Like what I tell them when they come in for onboarding with me is, I can give you the opportunity. I can get your foot in the door to network with these contractors. I said, but I can't do the work for you. You got to get in there. You got to shine. You got to show them your work ethic. And the number one thing I hear from contractors, I said, what do you want? Just like I asked the contractors here is, what are you looking for in the entry level? What do you want as somebody coming to your door and say, hey, I want a job and this has that willingness? And the number one thing I hear is, I just need somebody willing to learn. You know, willing to learn and to take that instruction. Then comes into play the other things, you know, which Renard kind of touched upon is, you know, having somebody that's drug-free that can pass a drug test, that has their driver's license. So those programs to the HSCT are again a benefit because they do that. They've already vetted that for you. They've already done those things for you. They've already gotten that applicant, that candidate to that point where they're walking your door. They've already done that. They've already passed 2 drug screens. I think Renard said they do 2 drug screens during his 6-week program. They make sure they have the driver's license. That's a requirement of the program. They make sure they pass 1 of the CDLs of the 3. Most of the graduates at the last class that I've attended, of the Oneida candidates, I believe 3 of the 5 passed 3 of the tests. And all they need to do is go take the test. They had passed the 3 written tests, or I think it's written tests, the 3 CDL tests. But they had passed 3 instead of just the 1 that was the requirement, as she said, the milestones. But I know the Oneida graduates, I don't believe at that time, remember we talked about it, because I didn't think they were getting any kind of stipend or anything, and I think they kind of confirmed that they weren't getting any type, but Maggie was looking into that. But for resources, that's the other thing that I did with this program is I started with 0 budget because there was nobody in my position for 1.5 years. So I had to learn to find resources for my candidates. That's working with the WIOA program internally with Oneida, Sean Hollis's area. That's where they're getting the reimbursement for their trainings. And also if they need tools, he said he can get them, you know, high vis stuff. If they need high vis, they need work boots, they need small tool. If it's carpentry, they need small tool. What does that look like? What do they need? He's asking me, and I'm like, well, you know, I'll ask the contractors, you know, is it a tape measure? Is it a hammer? Is it, you know, what does that look like? So I can, that needs assessment and say, you know, okay, Sean, this is what they need. So he has a list and he can go out and say, okay, I can give them a stipend for this. I can send them the fleet farm. Because I think you're sending them the fleet farm for the boots and stuff like that. So these programs are asking me to say, okay, what do these contractors need? So that's why I asked the question. You know, if there's needs that they need coming in, and it might not be that they need it, but maybe it's a want, you know, that they have this, so it's not they're coming in empty-handed. So, you know, what does that look like? So I can get resources to the WIOA program to say this is what they need coming in the door. There's trainings that they need. Okay, let me help them get this training. Let me get it paid for through Sean's program. You know, so networking and then working with HSAT, like I said again. But so that's what I hope to get out of this group. Again, I just want to say, what does that look like? Because I have resources that are asking me what that looks like, so I can create those collaborations. The other thing I just want to touch on is I know Dan had stated that the past Oneida representation wasn't so well. And I'm trying to change that paradigm, trying to change what that looks like. I'm not where before my understanding, and I'm gonna speak too much on it, but it was all about compliance and kind of just the previous management come in and say, you have to do this, you do da. And where I'm looking at it strategically from my standpoint, and I've talked to my management and they totally 100% support me, is 50% compliance. I process the paperwork, I make sure that you're meeting the DBE goals, that you're getting Oneida preference vendors on there, that you're getting Oneida skilled trade workers on there. But the other 50% is, what did you do with the vendors? What did you do with these skilled trade workers? You put them on lists, but what did you do with them? Did you help build their footprint for vendors? Did you help these trade workers get the knowledge, skills, and abilities so they were a viable candidate going to these? Did you do any kind of onboarding, any kind of ethics with them? So you're setting them up for success instead of setting them up for failure and just saying, hey, here, now you deal with it. That's not my approach. And that's what I hope not to do. And so that's what I'm hoping to do. And I hope I can change that paradigm and be more of a 50-50 You want to have value, I want to have value, let's meet halfway and how can we make this work to the benefit of both parties? So that, I'm hoping that that strategic outlook, that paradigm will change and that people won't cringe when they see me coming. Because I've had that happen, like, oh my God, here comes a new preference, maybe I can duck out this way. I'm not that type of person. I feel like I'm approachable. And that, how can we build this relationship? How can we build these collaborations? And yes, there's a compliance component of it for anything that comes within reservation boundaries or with the Native American Land Division through the state. So and that's 50%. But my goal here is to prepare them, the vendors and the skill takers to be successful and viable candidates to be part of these projects.
Okay, no, thank you for being patient. And,
I just wanted to bring up one partnership that I've developed for a resource for our candidates that go through the HCST program. Granted, it's not available for all our candidates, but it's with UMOS underneath their transitional jobs program. So when our candidates are unemployed for 4 weeks or more, you know, they can qualify for this program, in which if they are able to find employment after being accepted into that program on their own, is considered a unsubsidized employment through the transitional jobs program. So it qualifies them for a very large stipend through the UMOS program, which they can get paid out like $1,250 right away. After they continue employment with the company for 30 days, they qualify for another $1,250. And it's a great program. A few of my candidates through the HCST program have enrolled in that. I haven't heard quite back from any of them that, you know, have taken advantage of those stipends, but I mean, that type of stuff is out there. It's available for these guys or for people. And like somebody like myself back in 2005 going into the industry, you know, that would have been awesome to be able to have some type of stipend like that to avoid having to sleep in my vehicle. Granted, I was willing to do that because that's how much willingness I had to be in that industry. I was willing to do whatever needed to be done. And that's kind of where, like myself or Renard, our candidates will kind of weed themselves out of the program by either not participating, not showing up on time, and that sort of thing. When they're in our programs, it's the ones that actually make it the whole 6 weeks and you know, graduate and complete the program. The nice thing that I've incorporated into our program is like our final day of class, we actually take the trip down to DeForest and go take a tour of the Luna Training Center down there. So they get, you know, an idea of that laborers union. And then they also sit down and take their apprenticeship exam for their final exam of the program. So they're not only getting that HCST certificate with graduating, they're getting a letter of eligibility into the labor union as well.
Nice. I think too that it isn't all. It's not like this has been unsuccessful, because I'm sitting in an HR business position for the Wallback Group. I've hired over 50 people out of this program here just in the Green Bay area. And so there is a lot of success that's been attached to it. Everybody that comes out of these programs, you know, there's a good percentage that are prepared and ready to go to work. They don't need a whole lot of other things. They figure that part out of. So I just want to point that out, but I think that maybe too, one of the goals is to figure out how to promote the value proposition of HCST, because I always talk about how beneficial the program is. Man, I had an associate's degree when I came into this industry, couldn't find any work with it. You know, $15, $16 an hour is what everybody was talking about. First job I had flagging, I'm making $30 an hour, couldn't believe it, right? And so I think that we have to figure out how to promote this program a little bit more throughout the region and throughout the tribe too, right? There's a lot of different publications, newsletters that go out throughout certain tribes beyond even Oneida, you know, and other programs as well beyond even the tribal community. But I think that figuring out how to lift that value proposition up, because this certified pre-apprenticeship program shouldn't be a last stop for people, right? Shouldn't be, this is, well, you can't do anything else. You might as well do this, you know, because I think it should be an option, just like going to technical school. And that's one of the things that I think that contractors are always doing is saying, hey, you can work through registered apprenticeship, or you can go through figuring out how to get a degree. But I think DOT can help with that as well, as far as lifting this program up as being an option from transitioning from high school into the industry.
I agree. I'm trying to get into the high school as much as possible.
Yeah, and kind of how, as Amy mentioned, we need to talk to them as they're younger. And that's what we've tried to do when, with the Southeast region, is come up with programs that the DOT can get involved in, or contractors can get involved in, or the providers can get involved in, and, you know,
It has.
let people know when they're younger.
And just tell me that we were speaking to the Green Bay School System kids.
Yeah, and it's well with contractors, because the other thing that I think still exists is this stigma that all people do is shovel, right? Us as an industry, we can figure out how to really put this in front of kids in a way that's attractive. Because the technology continues to advance throughout the industry. Right, we have 13 certified drone pilots within. That's what I tell these kids right now. You know, there's all these different things that are starting to evolve, going down to the forest, going down to 139. Right, you see how advanced this is. That's why when I do outreach, I tell these kids working through registered apprenticeship is like the bachelor's degree of construction, because that's what it is. Right, you become a skilled craftsperson. That skill set stays with you forever, and you can do just as well as anybody else has done with a 4-year degree.
I think one thing that is important is, you know, we're talking about this 41 project, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any of the trades, I can speak for the trades that are in this room, it's more than that. It's a career, right? Like this is a way to get in, because there's a lot of opportunity right now. But once you're in, unless like you're in, but I mean, you can do whatever you want to get your foot in the door, right? And it's a career. It's not this 2-year job, right? And then good luck. We're offering a career, a retirement, health insurance. We're offering all the good stuff besides just this job for the summer.
Yeah.
It's a balance, right? Not to scare them away and say, oh, it's, you know, it's tough work, and it is, but to sell it to them too, because I mean, if you think about it, it's the best time of the year in Wisconsin. And you know, so it's long hours and it's sometimes dangerous situations, right? But you got to like sell that it's all the benefits, right? The pet, you know, the health and
sandbox. Well, now you get to play in a great big
yeah.
one.
It's funny, we were just at a labor development thing, and somebody said, like, how do we get these kids that love to play in the sand with these, you know, toy construction, you know, equipment, and then they forget about that as an option when they get older, right? So
Because the college is pushed too much as what
They
it
do.
is.
High schools and colleges as well, depending on the school you go to, I know, like, for instance, in Milwaukee, they push for college, they push for institutions and continuing education. And, you know, I wish I could get in with the school board and say, look at your numbers. Look at the numbers.
It's turning around a little bit, though. I think it's down a little bit, because I think they're realizing that the trades are, you know, they can get in right away. They don't, the upfront or the cost of it is cheaper, you know, like you get to start your career.
There's nothing wrong with going to college.
Yes, there's nothing,
but
yes,
there's kids who are not college bound. They're not ready for college, and this is
Or it's not a good
help
fit.
them. Help them see that you're not going to be a college person.
I mean,
There's
kids at that age should be given all their options.
Yes.
Instead of just being set up to fail, because if it's that person that, you know, sitting in a classroom all day,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
they've made it through high school and they're happy,
I have a
but they
19-year-old son.
they still
that
like to work. Those are the people
never
that you guys
have-
want.
never
And,
have
you know,
flourished in college.
They're getting almost forced to go to college.
Yeah, my son never would have flourished in college, and he works in HVAC, and he loves it.
Yes, one thing I want to mention about age, though, real quick, guys, is everyone hears that the average age of an apprentice is actually in the carpenter's use is actually 27. It's not 19, 18.
Wow.
It's somebody like Daniel who said you want to try
What
something.
is the?
They can't
yeah.
begin it until 18. So, you know, that's the thing, like, I was working with Youth Build and I'm doing the college construction career days and things of that nature, but I'm trying to change around how I present HCST at these events, so that instead of them looking and saying, oh, you need a driver's license, you need to be 18. Well, I'm 16, I'm 17. I can't think 2 years in advance right now. I'm trying to say different things to them, like, do you know how much it costs to get a CDL? Well, HCST does that. It's a free program. Leads you down that line, you know?
Sure, once you get a CDL?
Yeah, you know.
So, yeah, don't be.
Trying to like point out the positives about the program, that they would have to jump through many hoops to complete things that HCST encompasses in one. So trying, you know.
But that's something too in high school, like when you reach out to those kids, say, keep your driving record clean. Don't get like stuck where you lose your driver's license too. And I just have a question though, like how the average age for apprentice is 27, is that because they went into a different career first and then they?
Yeah, pretty much.
and
I
then
think that's what I was gonna say,
come
though, is
around?
that they're not finding us.
Yeah,
Number
they don't
one,
know
right?
how to get into.
So I would say, like, to me, if we're coming out of this committee, it's even having some sort of session is held as a region. All these other areas, our metropolitan areas that Lunda works in Minneapolis, Milwaukee, all these in Missouri, we got these offices, right? There are community outreach areas that they hold symposiums, they hold sessions, they hiring groups. There's a lot more conversation being surrounded about it. Northeast Wisconsin, Northwest Wisconsin, it's farm kids, right?
Yeah.
That's what it ends up being, right? That's what gets into our companies. And I think if we want to promote this, it needs to come out sort of as a, if it's WisDOT promoting it or whoever it would end up being, is somebody that, hey, this is where you come to find us. You post the wages for the carpenters, the operators and the laborers, because that's what sells, right? Honestly, when you could say, okay, you're this, like you're talking about college, somebody's gonna go in there and you're gonna spend 50 grand in college. You can make that in your first year. And if you teach them how to invest that, you're gonna triple, you're gonna be like 10 years ahead of somebody who went to college technically, right? I mean, that's what the numbers would portray. And I think what I'm getting at is we would somehow have to get, I don't know how you found Renard, right? But how do you find Renard? How do you find people? That to me is something that we should be focusing.
Probably WisDOT, better promoting of the program.
Yeah, it's Renard.
I just want to add in really quick before we go back to the other group. So is it okay? I mean, from what I'm hearing in the group, if our top goals that we choose to focus on is outreach and resources. Okay, because there's training task force, monitoring task force, policy, resource, and outreach. And I think majority of what we've talked about is strengthening the outreach and the tie to resource entities.
Correct.
Okay, do you want to end this meeting for us, Neil?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the outreach resource thing that I've kind of been trying to brainstorm myself on this for a while, and I've actually brought it up to Dan at a few conferences, or a conference, probably a few conferences ago. But trying to figure out how to put together a interactive presentation about the HCST program that we can take into our school districts within our regions. And, whether that's bringing somebody like Dan with, or, somebody, from different construction companies with, and talking about what, just like the gentleman said about, the average age for an apprentice is 27. Why isn't it 19 or 20? That's what we should be hearing. But yeah, just trying to figure out how to develop that. And when I say interactive presentation, because you're talking about school age kids, you need to be able to do something in a way you're going to be able to keep their attention. They're not falling asleep on you and that type of stuff. And that may be taking them outside and doing, maybe bringing some equipment and, kind of what Local 139 does with their externship days. And I always try to reach out to our school districts when Local 139 is hosting those externship days and, getting those schools to get involved in bringing those students. And I understand not all of our schools are for this industry. A lot of them, like everyone was saying, most schools are pushing college or they're pushing military. Those are great industries as well, but that might not be for everybody. And this is definitely a great alternative opportunity for people that don't want to go to college or don't have the interest in the military. And, going into this industry, you don't come out of school with a huge amount of debt or anything like that. You're making money while you're learning. You're being able to support yourself or support your family or whatever it is. You're making money while you're learning.
Agree, totally agree. But one closing shot I want to get is we have to work with the people who can influence decisions and make the decisions. Mike Hahn, Matt Jacobs, all these guys that are contractors around here, Mike, I want to thank you, bro. You were here when we first started, and we didn't have exactly what we needed to have. but you trusted him and you have trusted and believed that we were gonna build this thing, and we built it, you know, but we have to depend on the Webster, these people who have the experience, who can tell us just what your question, Stephanie, what is needed. And then we have to build the framework, you know, as coordinators, as Indian preference, we have to build on that framework. So we can be answers to some of their, especially hiring needs, you know, and get people, as Dan said, talked about, positioned to do this. I tell every student I have, I know you want to do it. I know you need to do it, but you have to be positioned to do it. They know they need to do this. They want to. Every student that comes through my door, you know, as far as recruiting, they want to do it. They know they need to do it, you know, for themselves and their families. But to be positioned to do that is the only way we're going to create win-win communication.
I just want to make quick notice. I've attended 2 recruitment events, and I don't know which unions are here. But there was a recruitment event at the Pipe Fitters Union this past fall, and they invited all the area, Fox Valley, I think it was Fox Valley, and I don't know if it was Green Bay, but all the area high school student counselors to show what internships had to, or apprenticeships had to offer with the unions. I think it opened a lot of eyes with those counselors as an alternative to going to college. Because they had a lot of questions like, what is this about? How does this work? Well, they didn't have a lot of that information. So that recruitment event where they sent it all out, and I got an invite to it. I felt kind of out of sorts because it was all high school counselors and educators that were talking to these students in high school about alternatives. I thought that was a good event. The other one I attended at the rec center, and it was all the unions that came in and they did hands-on. They set up all this different equipment, let them do stuff that was on the floor. I attended that event. So I think the things that we touched upon that is not really in this area, I think there's some grassroots that are here. We just need to expand upon it and get it out there more. And with that pipe fitters event, and how they did it with the school educators, I just counselor inviting them in and showing them what we had to offer. And they had, I think the facilitator for that one was the Wisconsin apprenticeship actual program. And so they highlighted all of the different trades, apprenticeships that they offered. And then also the rush center with the unions coming in and doing that hands-on with all the area high school students. They had afternoon and a morning session. So those were, I just wanted to make mention of that. There is some grassroots out there.
I think I gotta educate parents too.
Yeah.
We need to close the rooms.
You all reached out.
But I think that's what next to do is educate parents.
All right, thank you, everyone online. We're gonna move you back.
Contractors.
Oh, no.
To make sure that we.
Howdy, folks.
Tim, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear me previously? No?
No, ma'am. I just heard you when you just
Okay.
came back in. I didn't hear the first part though.
My apologies, I've been talking to you.
Okay.
And I was just letting you know that we turned the facilitation over to you.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I can go ahead and get started.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. And thanks for taking the time and your willingness and interest in being a participant in this particular subcommittee. What we wanted to do today was really just kind of, do a round robin and get a chance to introduce one another again and do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of our backgrounds so that there could be a mutual understanding of all that are in this mix with us. I'll start off by giving a little bit of background and we'll go around the horn because I don't necessarily see everybody up close that's in the room. And it's kind of a crunched up thing with the online group. we'll just try and do a any, mini, miny, mo on who will be, going next. And so I'm Tim McMurtry, serve as Executive Director of Infrastructure Business Development at NAMAC, Wisconsin, or the National Association of Minority Contractors, Wisconsin. NAMAC is the largest and oldest minority-owned and run construction trade association in the nation, founded in 1969. In fact, it was founded in 1969 due to the fact that as up to 1968, federal government's SBA would not allow loans to African Americans and other ethnic minorities. And so NAMAC was founded and has been in this advocacy work ever since. In addition to that, my background served as a former chief of staff to City Council President Willie Hines in the city of Milwaukee. Also served as an account executive with the leading public relations firm in Milwaukee, Miller Communications. And most recently, prior to coming aboard with NAMAC in December of 2022, I was the public relations and brand manager for Employ Milwaukee, the largest of the state's 11 workforce development boards. And so it's really a delight to work with, you all. This I-41 project seems to have a number of opportunities. And what we want to do with this committee is really maximize that, glean from our collective expertise to help WisDOT to identify ways in which we can maximize project procurement opportunities for our businesses, our DBEs. That's both on the construction side as well as the consulting side. So with that, I'll go ahead and yield the floor to the next person up. Let me see. I'll tell you what, those of you all who are in the room, I'm seeing Kurt Peters. If you all can just go around that table and do that same thing, and then we'll come back and get the rest of the folks that are online.
All right, sounds good. Those of you in the room, you're probably gonna have to speak up because right there doesn't pick up back into the room very well. FYI. Anyways, I am Kurt Peters, WisDOT Northeast Region, Project Development Chief or Project Development Manager, overseeing the I-40 project. Been involved here the last several years, getting this up to design or through design and construction now. That
Joe Davis, Construction Business Group, the DBE Development Director, Construction Business Group, Labor Compliance Organization, added the DBE component in the last 2.5 years. And so we work with DBE contractors selected on some of these projects, specifically this one here. Glad to be here.
I'm sorry, Ty Fleming, Program Chief for DBE.
I'm ever getting some feedback.
Excuse me, just real quick in the room, some of your introductions are kind of breaking up. We don't have a full-fledged fluidity in the communication lines. We're hearing most of what you're saying, but there's kind of some breaking up in that as well.
My apologies, to get a bit of feedback from my computer. Is that any better?
Yes, ma'am, much. Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, Ty Fleming, Program Chief for the DBE program.
And I'm Chandra Davis.
And I'm David Hubbard. I'm with WisDOT. I'm the Business Relationship Manager representing the Secretary's Office.
Benji Hayek, DBE Program Engineer.
Ryan Lipke, the Northeast Region Tribal Liaison, sending this program.
I'm Laura Belli. I'm the Construction Group Manager at Oneida Engineering Solutions.
I'm Kyle Pedersen, Project Manager / Estimator for Hoffman Construction Company.
Nate Swanky, Project Manager with Michael's Road and Stone.
Eric Witt with WisDOT. I am the project supervisor. My teams oversee both design and construction. For the quarter, the whole quarter.
Taylor Tower, Area Manager at Northeast Asphalt, part of the Walbeck Group. Manage the northern half of operations for Northeast Asphalt from the construction, bidding, that whole process.
Ashley Everson with Inland Construction Estimator, head of our DBE efforts in contracting. DBE subcontractors.
All right.
That's
Does it for the
everybody.
room? Excellent, excellent. Thank you all for that. Now I'll go around the horn online with my Brady Brunch screen here. Matthew, I can start with you.
Hi, I'm Matthew Tharanil. I'm the president of Bloom Companies. We are a consulting engineering firm.
Excellent. Randy Crump.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Randy Crump, owner of Prism Technical. We're DBE consultants, basically on monitoring and also coordinating with mostly on major vertical construction projects. If you've seen it in Milwaukee, you probably had a part in it. I'm an electrical engineer by education and early career. Designed and built the refrigeration controls at the Pettit National Ice Center, and found I had a passion for DBE work after being appointed to the board to build the original Wisconsin Center District Convention Center, and just celebrated its expansion last night, which was amazing. I am excited about being here because all we've done for the last 29 years has been seeing that DBEs have had an opportunity on these projects, starting with AmFam Field, Lambeau Field, and MPS Neighborhood Schools and Fiserv Forum. So I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Welcome. Marquise.
Good morning, everyone. Marquise Young, utilization engineer for the DOT, the DBE program.
Excellent. Brittany.
Brittany Bastion, Double D Landscape. We're DBE in the Northeast region primarily. Landscaping.
Excellent. Troy.
School again, Troy Parham with the Oneida Nation Community and Economic Development Manager. So Stephanie Metoxen is with us today from our office. She's in the labor room currently, but part of the work of our area is to connect opportunity for Oneida-owned businesses to compete on projects like these, as well as connect our skilled trades workers with employment opportunities on the labor side. So glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Excellent, and welcome. Derek. Is it Krug? Derek Krug? Maybe he stepped away from his mobile device. Come back to him. Tony P. Uh-oh. Got Derek and Tony stepped away. Matt Grove.
Morning, everyone. Matt Grove. I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction at the Wisconsin Transportation Builders Association. For those of you that aren't familiar with the WTBA, we're the Highway Contracting Association representing almost all the contractors within the state of Wisconsin. I concentrate more on the helping contractors on the construction and engineering issues and labor-related issues.
Excellent. Thank you. Rosalind.
Hello, everybody. This is Rosalind Robertson. I am the DB Support Services Coordinator, responsible for the Mentor Protege Pairs, Mobile Loan Guarantee Program, and also one-on-one direct services for DBs interested in competing on DOT projects. I also coordinate the annual DB Support Services, the annual DBE Workshop and Networking Summit, which is scheduled for January 29th and 30th of 2025.
Good deal. Thank you so much. Are either Derek Krug or Tony P back in the mix? Maybe they're a little gun shy today. They don't want to come out to play. Is there anybody else that I missed online that has not introduced yourself and given a brief backgrounder on
Yes,
your
my name is
organization?
Jeff Flint, Mr. McMurtry. I am the Deputy County Executive for Brown County.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome. Anyone else?
Tony Penterman, Mayor, City of Kukana. I apologize. I had to step out for a second and take a phone call.
Good deal, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else? All right. All right. Again, thank you all for your participation and willingness to bring your supply to the table, for us. This will be an ongoing piece. I guess we'll be meeting quarterly. And again, we're looking to really maximize opportunities for DBE participation on this fantabulous project. One of the things I wanted to also just share with you all, we've shared it before, but I think it's kind of apropos to share again now. Back in November, we'll take a step back. As we've been working with WisDOT, NAMAC has been working with WisDOT to identify opportunities for, contracting, prime, lead, subcontracting, et cetera, on infrastructure projects. One of the things that we wanted to do was strengthen relationships and familiarity between the different DBE firms and WisDOT staff. And for the Southeast region, there's also a DBE subcommittee that meets quarterly as well. And the Southeast region director, Bob Gutierrez, him along with Tandra, make the suggestion that, hey, perhaps members of NAMAC could meet with the WisDOT staff, the lieutenants that are the boots on the ground, the project managers, et cetera, in these various areas. This, I think, is another opportunity to do that. When we had the kickoff meeting for this particular subcommittee, I think back in February, it was good to see the variety of people that were there, got a chance to, meet some folks and have some of this precursor kind of conversation. But really what it did was it helped us to become more familiar with the different players. That being said, I think that one of the things that can maximize our effectiveness in this endeavor would be a similar type of approach. As we are in the subcommittee, I would encourage all of us to amplify engagement with WisDOT, not just when we're meeting here on these quarterly basis, but kind of an ongoing thing so that all of us can be pretty much top of mind with WisDOT and the other primes and others that will be participatory on this particular project. And so this is an excellent first step. And what we want to do is to grow this ecosystem in a way that, no stone is left unturned. And I think that, WisDOT, now that WisDOT speak for themselves, if there are opportunities that when you guys send out the monthly updates and the bid letting opportunities, if there are, as we are reviewing those things, and those opportunities, is WisDOT open even to, just feedback from, the group and members present here on other ways that the project can also be delivered? I'm leaning toward a strategic unbundling type of thing, or if that's, not possible because, that project is further along, the design, hey, it's already locked in, it is what it is. How much feedback and wiggle room does this group have in discussion with WisDOT as this project moves forward?
So, Tim, thank you for bringing, that up. So in terms of strategic unbundling, let me kind of explain what that is, because I know that everyone likely doesn't. So, unbundling is the idea that we have a larger project. We know that there's different work types in the project, and perhaps there's one particular work type in the project that is, kind of large and have DBEs who are ready, willing, and able to do that project. The idea is that one project would be strategically unbundled and then to allow, taken from the big project, to allow that DBE to see the project. It still would have to go through a bid, that's right, because it's making it a separate project. And another thing is, and so they would have to be low bidders, other things won't be there. I think I've shared with you, Tim, NAMAC, and maybe others, but this is, and maybe this is something, of course, we would want, this group's help that we can get. The Secretary Thompson, he signed on to what is called the Equity and Infrastructure Project, right? And the idea and the goal of that project is to make more DBEs be prime, right? When DBEs are prime, the prime is at the top, right? They make the money they want to make. They make more money, right? They have the opportunity, right? We're going to say they have the opportunity. Depends on how they line their package out and how everything comes out in the end, right? So we know all the big dogs go after those larger projects. And so, but to be able to be a prime, you have to be pre-qualified, right? There is kind of a lot going on with being pre-qualified. We are a state agency. There's regulatory requirements. And so we would have to have DBEs who are eligible to be a prime. In order to be eligible to be prime, so let's look at what we have now. So like to say today, could we unbundle something maybe to a DBE? Maybe not. And this is the reason why, because if you look at the list of pre-qualified DBEs amongst all the other qualified, there's only 6 of them, right? There's 6. And I would imagine maybe there's hundreds of, there's hundreds of contractors who are qualified to be the prime bidder, right? So we have 6. Of those 6, I think pretty much 2 of them are actively bidding at times, maybe. One of them. We consult the other 5 and said, hey, you want to be a prime? And they all said, no. These are the things you need to do, and we'll hold your hand, we'll help you get there. And they said no, right? Because, Michaels, as you know, right, it's a lot of responsibility to be a prime, right? I don't just get to go to my job, someone tell me what I need to do, be there for a few. I had to do a whole project, right? I had to be responsible for liquidated damages and making sure everybody's doing what they do. And, I gotta have staff and, just imagine these DBEs are smaller firms, right, with less resources. And so and I'm happy they recognize that, hey, we're not there yet, right? We would certainly love to grow them. And so we put it out there at our annual event. We're like, hey, you can be a DBE prime. Come talk to us. Let us help you. We were going to start a training program, really. But we didn't get any takers, right? So we solicit your ideas on how we could make this happen. The reason why we call it strategic unbundling, I think in the past, we call it just unbundling. And there too had some little hiccups, right? Because we unbundled things thinking, oh yeah, and then we had DBs that didn't even apply, right? So now we're strategic. Okay, we know this is your wheelhouse. You can do this. We're going to unbundle. We're going to strategically take this. But again, we don't have them wanting to come on board that way. It is a goal, like I said, in the Equity and Infrastructure Project, the goal of the secretaries to try and increase the number of DBEs. And I'm talking purely construction side, consulting side. We do have DBEs this time, but this is construction primarily returns.
Yes, Sandra, I was just going to say the 2 big things I think from my standpoint that we see talking to DBEs is 1, most of them don't want that responsibility, right? And it's deciding what are the barriers to that, right? Is it the paperwork? Is it the LDs? Is it, finding out specifically what it is? A lot of times it's having to deal, like you said, with the paperwork aspect of it. And then the other thing I think strategically unbundling things is the schedule, right? Making sure you do it very strategically because that can create a mess. And I'm sure the DOT guys know this about having to coordinate multiple projects when nobody's really responsible for the overall outcome can be something that pushes people away too, right? So I think those are the two things from my end. I guess my input on it is gotta be very careful on the scheduling and on what projects you do it on. And then trying to get DBEs to be that prime is finding that biggest barrier for them, right? Because when we talk to people, like I said, they don't want anything to do with it, like you just said.
So I don't know, Tim, if I provided enough.
No. Yeah, I mean, you have, and thank you both for those thorough answers. What we want to be able to do is kind of do a level set of information so that as we are moving forward with the project, we will be able to separate kind of fact from fiction. Sometimes, you hear different things from different folks and, you ought to go for this, you ought to go for that, do this is available, etc. But there are other things that that person didn't tell you that are also associated with that. So as we have these particular, meetings, what I hope to endeavor is to make sure that everyone on the call in their respective arenas know what the opportunities are, what it will fully entail. So if they want to take that on, they know what they're getting themselves into, because we want to maximize not just the opportunities for procurement, but also maximize the success rates that folks have as they do get these projects. Brittany, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
I guess I can speak from the DBE, being a DBE company, as far as why we wouldn't want to be a prime. One, we're not big enough to be able to bond a project. Bonding is our biggest barrier to prime a project. And then the second thing is even if we did bonding and there was, for instance, a project up here where we could have primed, but you have a bigger contractor that's bigger than us that can do the bonding also, and they get it all in DBE suppliers and take the project from us when it was a great opportunity for a DBE to prime a project.
That's some good insight.
And the
right
percentages
there.
on those projects that you guys present for a DBE to prime also have very, very small DBE percentage requirements.
Yeah.
And I would say another thing with that, what Brittany said there is, you might have somebody like Brittany who they want to be able to handle it, they want to take it, but you might have other DBEs coming to the primes and saying, hey, we don't want to, we want you guys to prime this for us, right? So in that instance, you'd have people that really want to, and then other people that are saying, hey, prime, hey, we want you to do it for us. So to her point.
Yeah. With that example, I see your hand, madam. Give you just a second. Just wanted to ask this question on that last point. In those scenarios, you got a company like Brittany's that's game. We can go ahead and do it. However, we got a couple of concerns. Is there an ideal situation that could be identified with that the Brittany's of the world could actually go after it as a prime and not, get eaten up by, another one? What does that best case scenario look like? And if it can be identified, can we try to duplicate more of those types of scenarios in this kind of work? Anyone can answer.
Well, Brittany's with Double D Landscaping, so it'd be obviously their specialty is landscaping, so it would have to be, specialized landscaping projects. But I don't know, again, that would have to do with, there are other landscapers out there that can do work, but, I guess Brittany, I don't know if you have any insight in, we have done that in the past where we've had just strictly landscaping projects. I don't know if that was a good thing or bad thing on the contractor's end. I don't know if, she has any insight on that, if that was good or bad. We have had those in the past and with varying, for varying reasons, not necessarily just because of DBE reasons, but just more of timing reasons. But I don't know if Brittany, I don't know if you have any insight on that. If you were part of those.
Brittany, is there anything?
Yeah,
I can't remember who's on those, but
I can speak to that. So like for us, we do more than just landscaping. We do signs, we do small amounts of guardrail. And we have a DBE subcontractor that'll work with us to create enough DBE to do the whole project. And then all we have to add is things like traffic control and other incidental things that are on every project that don't necessarily get used. And we're getting beat out because a fencing supplier is DBE, and that's mostly what it was when we did a living snow fence specific project. And there was right-of-way fencing also. And there's so many DBE suppliers out there now to provide DBE supplies that us DBE construction companies are getting beat out by bigger companies because there's so many suppliers out there now, and the percentage is high enough that they get their DBE, and the trucking also, the DBE trucking. And it's not that it's a bad thing, it's just, it's killing us.
Got it. Got it. So is the matter of the number and size of other DBE firms that are in the mix now that is creating this unique, specific challenge? Or is
Yes
it
and no.
more to, okay. Because I guess what I'm trying to get at is that go ahead.
Another thing I notice is like areas in Milwaukee, Madison, they obviously have more diverse businesses there just due to the demographics. But we have the capability up in this region to meet those percentages that they're meeting down there too, because we do have the contractors here, and our percentages are 2, 3, 4%, not your 10 and 12 and 8. And so they're easily meeting it by the couple other bigger contractors here that aren't DBE that do the same thing we do.
I see what you're saying. So if the percentages were increased from just 2 or 3% up to, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that would create additional opportunities. And the fact that there are capable DBEs up here, more DBEs could eat, so to speak.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more opportunity for DBE percentage up here than I feel like we're allotted.
Got it.
I got back on board, but can I say something if you all remember?
Yes,
We painstakingly go through those numbers to set goals on the project, DBE goals. And so what you have to understand is there's a fine line, right? When the goals are being in action, Benji, you want to jump in. She's the one who initiates the setting of the goals, and we all kind of review it together. But there's a fine line because we're looking at the DBEs who are available in the area to do the work, right? And we're looking at where they are located in the state, like, if some they're able to do the work, you think that they'll come up to that area, and especially in the Northeast. So you see the northern region, those percentages tend to be lower. But we have a fine balance, right? Because if we set the number too high, then we end up having GFEs, good faith efforts that we have to improve to set, because, we're saying, hey, we tried, we looked, we couldn't find, and then they show all the proof and we're like, yeah, you're right, right? So there's a fine line and balance with that. And so that's why I just wanted to underscore the reason why you see lower numbers is because we've looked at who is in the area, who's available, and it's mostly for the work types. Now, when people are getting their DBE credit for supplies and things like that, I don't know as much, Benji. That's not really we're looking more so at the work types, make those goals. So if they do it another way, then
we've had what was the last one, Benji? I think the last goals have been 6 or 7%, right? I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me, but it was
8% on the one and 6%. And the last one, 7% on the upcoming one.
Right, for I-40, yeah.
Yeah. So,
just strictly.
and other projects, I mean, as Tandra said, we have to look at what's in the area, and there's a DBE map. And, Brittany, I'm elated when I see you guys come through on a commitment, because I know that whoever the prime is going to have a good run with you. But when I am looking at these, at the DBE map and looking at who's available. In these areas, you see there's a lot of firms that are available, and there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trucking firms that can potentially do the work. And in this part of the Northeast, there's probably 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 construction companies, and they do not, a lot of them qualify for WisDOT work. Even though they are DBE certified, that doesn't mean they're DBE certified for the type of work we do.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Some of the DBE around here don't have the reputation we do.
Exactly. And then, I mean, got, you know, Putnam comes to our stuff all the time, and he does land clearing, and he's doing other stuff. So, and the thing is that we have, there's not a lot of firms that will actually qualify and do the type of work that can be done on these types of projects. So we do try to set the goal based on who is readily available, who's there, who does the type of work that's required, and, you know, how far are we into the season already? The other thing too is that primes alike, you can't overbook yourself because the project's going to suffer. If you can't schedule, or if you're being pulled in 8 different directions, you also have to take a look at that. I don't know how much work you got. You might have community work and private work. I just look to see who's in the area and who is available. So, and primes, I mean, we got Northeast primes here. What are you guys seeing as far as outreach to the DBEs, the feedback from the DBEs, and the availability and the ability to work with these DBEs?
I think right now, currently, there's more availability, but schedule is a big thing, because like you said, that firm might be available, but okay, they're filled up now, right? Or, so it just depends on on their workload, really.
Excellent discussion. And this is the kind of thing, and, you know, nobody should feel, you know, one way or another. We want to have a open, safe place where we can have, you know, candid, frank, grown-up conversations, because the goal, again, is to analyze potential for maximum DBE participation on the project. So these types of things, the schedule, the availability, the percentage of the DBE goals, all those things I think are fair game to be on the table for us to analyze and make sure that we are maximizing all of it, so that those opportunities for DBEs do present themselves, and they might even be able to grow over time. If where we are today, if we're farther along a year from today, and then 2 years, given that these are multi-year projects, I would count that as a win for us, because we've identified pain points and done our best to address those pain points, so that as we move forward, we can scratch some of those off the list because they've been effectively addressed. Matthew, thank you for your patience. You can go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. I was just curious, the 6 firms that are pre-qualified, what areas are they pre-qualified in? Are there multiple firms in, for example, in landscaping? Do you have like 2 or 3 firms, or are they all scattered? Six of them are in different categories.
Concrete, landscaping, painter, supplier. And I remember what the other one was. Interstate's not in here. So, but it's, and there's 2 painters, landscaping, concrete, supplier, 6th one, I can't remember, but 3 of the 6 are from out of state.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, they may also have bonding limitations. I mean, these are some specific areas, right? I mean, in landscaping, that may be something that you can separate out, but some of the other items you may not be able to separate out. So it depends on the On the contractors, I mean, if you have a few contractors that can bid certain type of work, for example, landscaping, it may be easier for DOT to have that as a separate contract, assuming they have the bonding capabilities.
Is that something, Benji, in your expertise with those and the polling that you all have done, you and Tandra, for folks that said, well, hey, miss me with the prime opportunity right now. I'm gonna go ahead and rock this subcontractor thingy like I've been doing. With what Matt had just suggested as a possibility in what you all see, is that something that is given consideration, or are there other, I guess, hidden challenges that would prevent that? Or are there, I guess, some ways that you see that pool can grow with folks having, let's say, the prime opportunities being more attractive to them?
A lot of the two biggest firms that are in that list that are pre-qualified do not want to, because it's not that they can't get bonded. They are fully bonded. They don't want the risk. They don't want the liability. They do not want the headaches. And they have to be able to perform at least 30% of the work. So to pull out specific items that are especially geared for a specific firm is not number one. The DOT is a low cost state, so you cannot just say this is for a DBE company. Okay, so you can pull it out all you want and you can say this is perfect for DBE, but you're going to have everybody fighting against it. And if you have larger firms or the larger primes that will come in that can do 30% of the work and still get DBE to work under it, it's all about cost. It's all about making sure that the company who's bidding it feels good about bidding it and that they understand all that's required. Specification is a requirement. They may not be familiar with all of the specifications that are required across the board on that job. Maybe they're laser focused on what they're doing, but they are responsible for the entire job. They are the one who's going to get sued when somebody gets killed on the job, whether they were at fault or not. They're the one who's going to put up with all public outrage about this and that. They're also the one that's going to get patted on the back that said, really good job. But those companies, I mean, the two largest ones that are out there are two largest DBE companies that are doing work. They, they have been in business for 20 plus years and they don't want to do it. So I don't know how we could dissuade or persuade other firms, especially if they're, as an example, I mean, do prime on other jobs though. If it's private or muni, they will prime. They just do not want to do WisDOT work as a prime.
Benji, I'm sure you have certain states that do feedback from them on these issues.
We do. Most of them are in the same boat as far as the amount of DBEs that are interested or qualified to prime. Strangely enough, though, Ohio has a lot of DBE bridge builders who can actually prime jobs, but they lose them every couple of years because they grow. They outgrow the program. But Illinois doesn't have, I mean, Illinois's got a lot of DBEs. I'm not really quite sure how many of them are actually priming. Minnesota, same thing. I mean, it's kind of across the board. It's just like a big company getting, any company starting, there's always risk, financial. And that's the other thing too. Can they pay 6 months payroll while they're waiting to get paid?
Right.
Or they're paying all of their suppliers for all the materials they need. That's the cash flow thing that we've talked about numerous times, access to capital. Joe and his team are just blazing down that path, trying to figure out ways and working with banks and doing that kind of thing. So it's just not a matter of picking out projects, say, here you go. this is designed especially for you. There's all these other factors of actually running a business. You know, you can put anybody out in the field as long as they can read and understand, they can build a job. Okay, as long as they adhere to what they're supposed to be doing. But owning and growing your own business and taking care of all of that is different. And then you add all this other stuff. And we're there. We're telling them all the stuff they need to know. We're asking our bigger DDEs of crime, how do you do it? And they are just like, we are so selective that we are not going to put ourselves in a situation that we can, you know, potentially fail or lose our business. Because if you have a liquidated damage, say $5,000 in liquidated damage, you don't make that up in one project. That's over the course of a bunch of projects.
Can you go through a little more of the liquidated damages piece, Benji, and some of the scenarios in which that can be triggered?
Don't
Just
do
as
your
an example or two.
slash the penalty. Bottom line, that's that. Okay, liquidated damages are based on interim completion date or their on completion date. In every contract, it states whether or not you follow the standard spec, and you guys jump in if I go on path here, but pretty good because I always assess them.
Yeah.
If you do not meet the qualifications, the parameters, the requirements of the specification and the special provisions of the contract that you signed, and the majority of it is for delay of project, it is laid out in our standard spec and our special provisions that you are going to, if you do not meet the time frame and there are no extenuating circumstances which may have caused your delay other than yourself or your subs, you will be penalized anywhere from $2,195 per day all the way up to $30,000 a day, depending on what project you are on.
That depends on the size of the project.
Yes.
What lane closures?
Per
We
day.
have lane closures. Okay, so those are all things, and liquidated damages are handed down to the prime regardless of who caused them. The prime is responsible because the contract is between the state and the prime. And if a DBE company is priming and say they had another company come in, DBE or non-DBE, that was their first or second tier sub and did a delay of job and caused that project to go into liquidated damages, it goes against the prime. They can try to filter it down to their first tier and second tier, but either that money's already been paid out or it's coming at the end of the project. So the final payment, if they've already paid their subs, final payment's going against the prime, as it should, because the contract is between the prime and the state. So $5,000 or $50,000, $10,000, you don't make that up in your next job. Your profit margin for a small company is unfortunately sometimes paycheck to paycheck.
That affects their bonding too.
Affects
When
their
you get
bonding.
to liquidated damages,
Yep.
bonding companies see that and it's a negative to your bonding, so.
Yeah, that's a strike.
That doesn't help.
Hey, Tim, this is Joe Davis.
Yes, sir.
So can I mention
Go ahead, Jim.
things to piggyback off of what Benji said? And that's something we haven't talked about. And that is federally funded projects have Davis Bacon wages or what we consider prevailing wages. If a DBE is not with that whole structure, for some odd reason, they get behind not only in the wage, but the fringe benefits that is owed to that particular employee, those particular labor organizations will intervene at that particular time. Doesn't mean where you're in the phase of the contract. They want those benefits paid to the workers, which then will delay the project, which then opens up the damages.
So it becomes a domino effect of sorts.
Absolutely.
It does.
Gotcha. I see your hand too, Matt. I got you. Okay. So basically, some of the reasons why folks don't want to jump to the prime piece is that the penalties for missing the mark are so severe that one doesn't want to chance that unless they are absolutely positively sure. But anything, kind of can happen. So I can see where that kind of death nail is something that nobody wants to risk. Okay. Matt, you can go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment building on liquidated damages. That risk is there, whether you're a DBE or a non-DBE. It's part of contracting. Unfortunately, it's probably more emphasis on it than there's been in the past. Don't forget about lane rental fees. That's another issue that can, that can lead to a loss that's outside. In some cases, it's outside their ability to control. You just get in a bad situation. You can't get a lane open back up. I see that quite a bit, but just in general, I think you guys, it's a good topic. We're talking about the reality and one barrier for all contractors is the fact that there is a lot of risk, and can you mitigate it? And are you interested in being a part of that risk, and how successful you are as a contractor is how you do handle that and try to deal with the risk. But it was interesting listening to unbundling earlier. I think the original Northeast Highway 41 committee years ago talked about this quite a bit, and we did some of that. I think we took some fencing contracts out and things like that. Once again, I think you guys, it was good to hear. You got to really be careful with this and make sure that you don't go the wrong direction with that sort of thing. We did that, and in turn did not get DB bidders that would have quoted that same work. So we actually went the wrong direction and took some opportunity away. But this risk, I hear it's on a national panel, and I heard a number of DBs talk about that's one of their largest barriers, is not necessarily there wasn't a lot of discussion about prime versus sub. It was more the risk of LDs as part of it, but penalties and there's a lot of things you got to consider, and you got to be smart about it. They're all there for one reason. You want to do the work, get the work done successfully, but it's not always that easy. You end up in a situation that you would really is not favorable. So those are my comments.
Got it. Thank you. Well, that's good stuff to know. Now, as we talk, anybody else have any other questions or comments relative to that? Maybe your experiences that you've had, things you're looking to mitigate as we move forward with the I-41 project? Anyone? Okay. So as it relates to the project, well, first of all, how much time do we have
8 minutes.
for this? Oh, 8 minutes. Okay. You said 8 minutes?
Correct.
Okay. So one of the things I would presume we all would want to know, what would you all recommend, from the WisDOT perspective, as the different lettings are coming out and folks want to, get in on the projects off the horizontal as well as the SWEF joint on the vertical, piece. That's kind of a unusual opportunity for WisDOT. What would you say would be the best ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of engaging in the project opportunities, both from the construction side as well as the consultant side on this I-41? If there were 2 or 3 just best practices that we all should adopt and roll like this, and this maximizes your chances to get into the mix. I see your hand, Benji. You can go ahead.
One of the things, thank you, Sam. One of the things is that the professional affiliations, you guys, CBG, WTBA, talk to your members. We send everything out. It's posted everywhere. We send out these wonderful bulletins saying, hey, this is what you got to do. But you have first contact with your members. So You be the voice piece. And if they have questions, send them back to us.
I do that, Benji.
I know you do.
Please take
No,
Message that we always put out.
No, I know you are my guy when it comes to this stuff. There isn't a letting that goes by that I haven't talked with Joe. Okay, not one.
But I do have a recommendation, Tim, that maybe the committee want to.
Yes, sir.
As we move forward, and that's access to capital, right? And we've been talking about access, but maybe with this particular committee and at the precursor of the I-94 mega project, maybe making a recommendation up to maybe increase the allocation into the loan mobilization fund or some of those funds, so that DBEs have access, so that they have capital that they can continue to perform on this particular job. Whether it's available or not, the key thing is that if they have access to capital, then my thinking is that WisDOT doesn't get their call of like, hey, I'm running short of, can you give us an advance? Can you talk to the prime and give us an advance, right? It's a seamless process for them to actually then have access to capital so that they can endure, especially at the front end of the project. Once money starts flowing and the work starts flowing, it tends to kind of levels out. But just those funds that has already in place, possibly getting them a larger allocation.
Got it. Thank you. Tandra, I see your hand as well.
Right, I'll yield to Brian. Physical hand up.
I've never. Sure, you described even to the phone call.
Absolutely. So it's called our loan mobilization fund. It has a guaranteed word in there for it. So the loan is guaranteed by WisDOT. So what it is, a DBE who gets a contract or a subcontract, whatever that contract amount is, they can get a loan for half the contract amount, right? And they still go to a bank and be bankable, right? But they can, we guarantee 90% of it. So that makes it more attractive to the bank, right? So guarantee 90%, the bank could only lose 10%. And so what happens is, as that DB is on the project, when they get paid, the check goes to the bank, half of it and half of it to the DB over the life of the project, and then it pays it back automatically. So it's guaranteed. So that's what that is. But I also wanted to respond to Tim's question. You don't have that much time. About what can be done. I would say always telling the DBEs, it really is about engagement. When those bids are put out, there are people who look at bids, and I'm not, Benji's more the expert on that. So you kind of may know who is going to plan on bidding, right? And I would say you gotta engage them, you gotta know them, right? I'm not gonna have someone do certain work for me, and I don't know you, and I'm gonna trust you with $500,000, really? No. So engaging, so I think that is one key and big thing. That's why we have our events. We try to have people there. We try to have networking. NEMAC had a wonderful event yesterday. Networking, matchmaking. I'm encouraging them to engage with.
Got it. Thank you for that. In our last 3 minutes and 15 seconds, anyone else have anything to add or chime in on, or share some of the experiences that you've had and what you're looking forward to as we move forward in this project? Going once? Going twice? This batch is like, let me get to my weekend. That's it's Friday. We trying to wrap this up, player. Okay. So, go ahead.
Our group will need to give a report. I don't know if you want to sign that or do it yourself, but I just want to make sure you look.
Oh, thank you for that. Any takers? Anybody wants to be our summary spokesperson? I don't see any hands going up now. I can give it. That's fine. That's fine. Again, you all, we really want to have this as an open forum, really, to, touch upon the different things that are, going on the business side of things. And if there are concerns that you have, we want you to feel comfortable enough to present those things here, and we'll, keep things, for the meeting, and we'll be dignified and respectful of one another, and not, mean mug and all that kind of stuff. But the whole purpose of this committee is to talk about things on as much of a granular level as necessary to bring about maximum results. And so, again, appreciate your participation. Thanks for, shooting through and being a part of this. And your supply, your insight, what you bring to the table is important, because we want a situation where it can be win-win all around for the department, for participants, for businesses. We want to move the needle. Benji, I see your hand. Go ahead.
And thanks for that. The other thing is that when we come back in 3 months, typically, we would have some sort of action item. And, then, you as the chair would assign. You don't have to do it right now, but, you talked about a lot of great things, and a lot of great things that can be followed up on. So it's not all about, we want to put something out there and then bring it back. Not just have these open conversations, which are great, but we actually want to do something in between the meetings to see how we can continue this forward. So
okay, that'll work. We'll circle back and offline, and we can put some things together like that for the next time we get together.
Andrea?
No, I was just gonna offer, we'll come up those 6 primes that we told you of. We didn't know. So, I mean, we'll come up with the list of them this week. Who they are. And also, I think we developed a, it's kind of internal now, but what you need to do to become a prime, right? So we can show you all. You have that in your back copy.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you. Yeah, I think we have, some promising opportunities. And like I said, this was our, inaugural meeting. We just wanted to kind of get to know one another a bit, find out what the backgrounds of each of us are, and see how we can, work as a committee to really maximize results, on this particular project for DBEs. With that, I think our timer was maybe 52 seconds over. I don't know when we're going to get kicked back into the main communal room, but if there's nothing else for the good of the cause, we are adjourned.
Thanks, Duke.
You are welcome. My pleasure. Thank you all.
Does anyone have, we'll kind of go a little backwards while we're waiting. Does anyone have any announcements or anything that they want to? No, our next meeting.
The next meeting is.
It's in August. Next meeting, Friday, August 16th, from 10 to noon. It will be hybrid.
Great.
So
looks like everybody is back, or most of us are. So Tim, would you want to please provide a quick summary of our discussion? Just a few minutes.
Oh, certainly. I'll make it super brief. We in the business development subcommittee, just did brief introductions, got a chance to meet one another, and really just kind of went through an overview of some of the challenges and opportunities that are presented to us moving forward in this I-41 project. We talked about some of the opportunities to become prime and some of the feedback and challenges to that. We also discussed opportunities for making the projects as palatable as possible for DBE participation. And in addition to that, we talked about ways in which, or factors that will go into DBE participation, inclusive of, but not limited to, the percentage goal of DBE participation on any particular project, how far along we are into the construction season can also affect DBE participation. In addition to that, the abilities, both capability and availability of the DBE firms also can affect participation rates. And finally, we talked about the bonding and other limitations along those lines. So that was pretty much the gist of what we covered this time around. Next time we will add to that, look for some particular outcomes and things that can be an outgrowth of what we discussed here today. The end.
Good job. I was worried about you, Tim.
Right. I think the pressure was on.
Report out.
We had a really great discussion with the labor group committee. So we talked a lot about the different barriers to bringing the workforce together or bringing workers into this industry. And basically our two goals that we're going to focus on is going to be outreach to tie together, or for one, to promote the HCST program, to get more information in regards to the benefits of the program out to individuals so that they can take the training, as well as trying to get within the schools, trying to target a little bit younger ages if possible, but also to tie together the connection with our resources, our resource entities, to help with the individuals who are going through the training, as well as once they finish the training, to make sure that they can get to the work field, get on the workplace, and be successful in making their way to work, basically, long story short. So our two focus goals are going to be outreach and resources. Okay.
Great. Does anybody else have any questions or comments before we adjourn?
No, I'm just happy to see you all here, and from the sound of it, and I know we had a good session, you all had a good session, so this is the beginning of a great conversation. And just looking forward to success on the project. Thank you.